my question, last night I was talking with my brother, and my brother is a born-again Christian, and he shared that one of the things he hadn't said to me is that, he's concerned that because I don't believe in Jesus Christ as my Savior, that I'm going to go to hell. And I got really upset. It's like, and it's like, and I feel sad or frustrated that he believes that way. And part of me is like, I guess part of me is like wondering or is afraid that, well, maybe it's really true. That I am going to hell. I don't know, I was aware of just not being able to like be with what he believes. Like it's not okay for him to believe that. I just noticed that was there for me, and then I totally made myself wrong for not being with him.
When you say being with him, what do you mean?
Well, just being with what? Yeah, it's like, okay, yeah, you believe what you believe. I got it. You believe I'm going to hell. If I don't believe in Jesus Christ. So, just to like, because in some ways he's not. I don't see him changing that. He's not going to change that because that's really what he believes. Yet I want to be able to like. Where my question is, or I want to be close to him, and as a brother, and yet I feel like that's kind of that's something that's there. It's just kind of I feel uneasy around him because I know he believes that.
He believes that you're going to hell.
Yeah.
So why would he want to be close to you? I don't know.
Good question. No. Well, I mean, he cares about me. I know that. I know he loves me.
And so your question is?
I guess I don't know what to do about the whole thing, and
I would think it would be one of those subjects you would agree that you wouldn't bring up. You wouldn't talk about that. You talk about everything else but that. So that's so divisive. It creates so much separation. Such immense separation. And usually there's not an openness for real exploration, inquiry. People who believe that there is a God that punishes one for not believing with eternal damnation. What a mad, insane thought that is. I mean, if you just had a bit of openness, you would say, do I want to put my faith in such a demonic God that damns people for all time and beyond for somehow not believing? It's terror. So generally, one must have a very closed notion, closed view. So I'm saying this because there's not great hope in that you're going to convince him that his point of view is somewhat insane or totally insane.
Say that again, this is not hope? Or
I said there's not much hope you're going to convince him of the insanity of that point of view, the madness of that point of view.
Yeah. And yeah,
Sounds like there's more hope that he'll convince you that the point of view is right.
yeah, well, I in some ways, I don't want him to change what he believes, because I guess it's like, I don't know, I don't want him to change, what he believes at the same time. But I don't want him to believe that I'm going to hell, I don't. So, I guess really, what's at heart here is like this. It's like I'm not certain myself, and
so Jesus Christ is a being who lived upon this earth, who was an embodiment of the greatest love, the greatest compassion, the greatest mercy, the greatest forgiveness.
Yeah.
So if you don't take him to be the Lord of Lords, you're eternally damned. Just a little simple reasoning.
Yeah.
Some ordinary human common sense.
Yeah. I can definitely believe in that compassion and the forgiveness, embodied, that Jesus Christ embodied.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
So what does that have to do with eternal damnation?
Nothing.
That takes a pretty big leap of faith.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody on this Mother Earth who doesn't see things as I do is going to be eternally damned.
Mm-hmm.
God knows how many people have met horrendous, torturous deaths on this Mother Earth from that very same kind of thinking. Yeah, including Jesus. That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Earlier, did you say that it's just going to have to be a topic we don't talk about?
No, I'm imagining if you have a desire to, let's say, share a meal, or you were at the Thanksgiving table or the Christmas table with all the family, or the Easter table with all the family, that if you had a desire, an intention for love and good cheer and joy, you wouldn't want to get into that particular topic of conversation.
What I want is to, he said something like, if you were really there, you would rise above it all, or something like that. It was like the sense of I want to be able to rise above that, or just to be able to be okay with what he believes and not react to it. And there's not.
You may be asking too much. It may be an unreasonable expectation. It's your brother.
Yeah.
So it's not the guy in the store down the street that you could care less about his fanatical views. You'd say, I'm just not going to shop there anymore. I'm not going to make a big to-do about this. I just really vehemently disagree with that kind of fanatical viewpoint. Won't shop, but this is your brother. So.
Yeah.
But you can certainly use the opportunity to see how reactive, kind of the robotic response to it all.
Yeah. I think I'm more upset with my response to him.
So if you want to use that context that holds forth the possibility of seeing the kind of conditioned reactive robotic response and use that context for remembering the possibility of being immensely spacious and unconditionally loving. That would be super.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty ruthless, you could say it was a very ruthless reminder, you know. Really, I get really angry. Mm-hmm. I was really angry last night.
So before that context becomes one of such great higher learning, maybe you have to go through that season of duking it out for a while, kind of get the bad blood out of your systems.
Yeah.
And then when you've had enough of making each other right and wrong and pointing fingers and thinking about arming yourself, or getting a bodyguard or something. So.
Yeah, one thing it's that I think in all of this, I mean, it's like I'm looking for an answer, some comfort or answer.
Well, as far as Jesus Christ being the answer, let him be that reminder of the possibility of unconditional love and compassion and forgiveness, and allow the meeting with a brother to be holding forth the possibility of being honestly Christ-like. Forgetting about beliefs and ideas and what some future afterlife may hold. What about right here and right now? And what about that example, that reminder?
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. It's a kind of play between brothers, you see. It's like a theater. And you can say, well, we will enact this grand earthly conflict for a half hour. And then enough. What do we really want right here and right now, ultimately? And then you say, I've had enough. It's enough of this one. Don't have to do this conversation as if I'm a robot with no say in the matter. You can reflect a half hour, 10 minutes into it and say, my God, how closed I feel your heart to be, how closed I feel my heart to be. What does this have to do with our intention for truth and love? And so in some ways you'll be both being these great demanding teachers in behalf of the great teaching of letting go here and now. We're just going to drop everything that gets in the way of true brotherly love. And if you are unwilling to or unable to, oh brother, I'm willing to, and I'm able to right here and right now. Maybe that I have to just say, well, see you next week. But I don't want to go on with this warring any longer. Could you imagine what profound trouble we're all going to be in if he's right? Think of that one.
yeah, it seems way too simplistic, the whole thing, or not even simplistic because it's not simple. Because you know,
Could you imagine teaching that to a young innocent child
no,
that's open-hearted and joyful?
no.
What would be scarier, actually? What could you possibly teach a child that would be more frightening than that?
Yeah.
Conjure that up.
Yeah.
Phew.
That's what I grew up with too.
Crowd controls, motos. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I find the more I come to satsang and the other, and the other work I do, just like the more I live my life, the more I discover the graciousness and the love that's present. That's always there. And
Yeah.
and the forgiveness that is there.
That's right. So really, it may be a question of just really accepting that you truly love your brother, wish the very best for him, and you let go of a notion that you can change him or even want to. That itself is such a suffering. That desire to change somebody. Have you noticed that one never succeeds at that?
Oh yeah.
No matter how much one tries?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I generally try to change everyone, So that's my thing.
Yeah. So sooner or later you want it to dawn on you that that's a kind of foolish pastime doomed to failure.
Yeah, it takes a lot of energy too.
I mean, on this earth, in this culture, how many people marry someone with a secret plan that they're going to change?
to mold that person into the one they've been looking for.
Yeah. And it never succeeds. Well, I thought once we were married, once we moved in together, yeah. So, better to forgo that suffering. And how we carry this notion that we ourselves have to change before we become worthy of unconditional love and unconditional compassion. Something else?
No.
No? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I just also feel compelled to say that there must be many, many, many people who would identify themselves as being born again, who don't ascribe to that notion that everyone else who doesn't believe as I do will be eternally damned. People who are born again who honestly take Jesus Christ to be the greatest example and possibility of how to truly live a Christ-like life here and now that has everything to do with love and compassion and forgiveness and mercy. So I don't want to. Kids running off to church now.
Guess we should all join her. My name's Jim Hanuman. Hi.
Actually,
This has been an incredible weekend for me. I have a lot of feelings. I guess I want to share with all of you how wonderful it's been to hear all this, all your stories, and I think I'm learning to observe myself. I'm learning to observe my feelings. I always thought I knew my feelings. I always thought I expressed my feelings, but I'm learning to know that I've really been attached to not feeling my feelings. And you know what I've learned here over the weekend is the great compassion for and love for myself and for my feelings, and that's been very powerful.
that's great.
And I want to thank you for that. Thank everybody here.
Well, you're most welcome, for sure.
Hanuman, it's Patrick, and I guess I was kind of thinking about the thing of grace, that kind of I feel I've experienced working in my life at times, and I guess I was wondering if your master had anything on how to try and bring that into my daily life and to keep more in focus with that.
He would say most often, simply be quiet. Be quiet. This was what he was saying more than anything else that he said. Every satsang at some point, or many points, he would say, quiet, quiet. To the question, what did he mean? Quiet. He was always pointing to that which was already still. So he's saying to come to rest back into the stillness, forgo the mind stream, and simply come again into the heart silence. Was there something else?
No, not really. I guess it's just difficult to remember that when I guess I get carried away with anxieties and worries about the future. Or, I guess conflicts as to other people's expectations and all that. I guess
It's why I'm really saying over and over is to use all of that in behalf of remembering. And what's more jolting for waking up, what's more like a bucket of cold water in the face than conflict or worry about the future? What reminds us of our love of peace more than that? We overlook the ever-present peace. And take it so for granted, except when it's lost. And when it's lost, we are so often reminded of how much we truly value peace. How we don't want to overlook it any longer. So use the habits that seem to obstruct what your heart's desire is, and let those habits now be in service to the fulfillment of your heart's intention. So you noticing the thought stream, the mind stream that's filled with thinking about the future, let that remind you of the possibility of simply coming to rest in this here and now. Now. So if the habit has been to notice this futurizing tendency, and then follow that with a story of how horrible you are for that. Forgo that piece, that story of your personal horribleness, and rather simply remember now. So then futurizing this habit becomes a great ally. In that same way, anxiety that we are all so familiar with can be that same great ally. If you let it be. In the same way, noticing the tendency to cling on to something. In that noticing is the possibility of the reminder to simply let go. So much has been laid at our feet. It's a question of if there have been great and sharp swords laid at your feet, to pick one up and wield it, use it. Make all of this practical, useful. So if you have a notion that remembering is useful, then fill up your world with great reminders. In my home in Santa Fe, and before that in San Francisco, so many places, so many walls covered with photos of the Master, photos of Ramana, Buddhas, Hanumans, this and that, everywhere I look, so beautiful. Flowers, plants.
Yes, I guess it's often been easier for me to try to do that for others. And it's so difficult to do it for myself. And believe that to be able to do that and not feel kind of somewhat selfish in doing so. It's kind of, which, as I'm about to say that, I realize how silly that is.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Hi, Hanuman. I've been in massage school for 8 months and have 1 more month to go. And I've really enjoyed having that container. It's made me feel really safe and secure and like, this thing I can hold on to. And now I'm just watching my mind start scrambling for safety. I can see that I think that's just what mind does. And it's very uncomfortable. It just does not let me have a moment's peace right now.
The fear of what's going to happen when the month is out and now I'm finished with school.
Yeah, and I tend to have an abandonment issue in life, and so that's that really I've been trying to trace it back to see, what the root is, and I think it is the abandonment, that I just like having this container. And
by container, what is it that you mean?
well, like school was a container for 9 months. I'm held. I have a schedule. I show up and therein lies a certain feeling of safety. And so I think it's maybe just this feeling of fear of the void,
Fear
just of emptiness, of falling through space or something. I don't know. I tried to trace it back. What I come up with is to surrender to it, whatever it is, just to surrender to it. And was just wondering if you could give me any feedback about that.
Tell me what you mean by surrender to it.
Whatever it is going to be, whatever that fear is that's running me, just to let it be there and just say, okay, if that's the case, then so be it, rather than this resistance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's really, the question is much more to do with transforming one's relationship to fear. So fear doesn't function. See, the fear is all in the imagination. It's this pervasive, chronic human condition fear of what's going to happen to me.
Right.
Right.
And I've very much been run by fear.
All found in thinking. It's not like there is a herd of elephants coming at you and there's a great fear that rises that's so useful that fuels the run or the ducking or whatever it is that would be appropriate in that moment. This is a different kind of fear that accompanies so much of all of our daily lives. So, it's about, in part, relating to all of that imagination as imagination, as fantasy, as fairy tale, as fiction, rather than as gospel truth, as if there's some reality in there. This fear that you're speaking of has nothing to do with reality. It has to do with some imagined future. Reality has everything to do with what we speak of as now. Just this moment, which is so habitually overlooked. So much of life is lived in consideration of moments yet to come, or moments long gone. So we all have learned along the way the import of forgoing the past and future in favor of simply this moment. It's useful to be willing to really accept the fundamental fact that we don't know what is to come. It's all a mystery. This next moment forward that only gets revealed in this now. So really, this now is the greatest place of retreat and safety.
Is following the breath the easiest way to stay grounded in the present, would you say?
Following the breath?
Mm-hmm. Just kind of, I'm sitting here and breathing in and breathing out. I feel my feet on the floor. I mean, I feel like it's kind of, I can go off in my head a lot. So I'm just needing to stay grounded in the present moment.
No, but there's endless techniques.
Yeah.
many of which you know about after 8 months of massage school. It's so interesting how, it's what Patrick was saying, so there'll be 8 months spent acquiring a lot of useful information that we think will be useful for everyone we encounter. And we forget the usefulness for our own self. And so what do they say? Practice what one preaches or one teaches. So we go through life as spiritual seekers, acquiring so much wisdom, an immense amount of wisdom. Great teachings, great books, great, endless, but yet we don't use it. We're not practical with it. So we put it on the shelf in case of a dire emergency.
I like very much what you said about just don't know about the future.
Don't know about the future.
That really just seems
It
like
so
that can
rarely
stop my
turns
mind.
out as we expect or intend.
Yeah, there's this control aspect, I think, that that's the real illusion, that I have some control.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I'm willing just to say I don't know.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
That's right. So what freedom there is in that, that's exactly right.
Thank you, Hanuman.
And worrying doesn't, see, the mind is so tricky. It's as if worrying is going to make it okay. So the worrying of the present is somehow going to make the future okay. It's very screwy.
I agree.
Yeah. So.
Hanuman, I'm in the middle of one of my infamous inquiries, and I'm stuck in an area in non-dualism. And maybe I don't understand non-dualism. It seems in moments of stillness, at times I'll have an experience, I call it the whoosh effect, where there's just, all of a sudden, everything's gone. Nothing is being perceived. And after the experience, I can report that I was experiencing just profound peace and tranquility. And after the experience, I'll be groggy, probably shouldn't be handling sharp instruments, things like that. And then conversely, I'll have experiences that come out of stillness where I might hear the song of a bird that is so rich, it almost seems like it's coming from within. And at the same, and it's like that's the only thing in the universe that exists. And I might smell lilacs, and it's just, the perfume is so rich, it's as if that's the only thing at that moment that exists in the universe. And I might feel the sun on my arm and have the same thing. And yet I'm experiencing all those things at the same time. It's a very sensory-rich experience, totally opposite from the first one. And when I come out of this experience, I'll feel a lightness of being, joy, a lot of energy. And I guess where the non-dualistic question comes into being, in each of those experiences, I truly feel a sense that all exists is consciousness. There's no thought there. And in each experience, I have a feeling of no separation, truly a sense of no separation. And yet those experiences are totally separate from each other. And I almost feel one is totally objective and the other is totally subjective. It's all that's existing are the senses. And isn't that dualism? I mean, isn't that truly dualism, where in one example, nothing exists, in the other example, everything exists. In each, there's no separation, yet there's no connection whatsoever that I can find between the two experiences. They almost seem like opposites.
You are the connection. You, awareness, you, pure consciousness, in which all of these experiences are, you are the common denominator. You are that one in which the display is occurring in. You.
Wow, okay, it's so simple and I got it completely. I took a step forward and I should have taken 2 steps back. Okay. Okay. Thank you. I've been struggling with that for a long time and it's so simple. It's so simple.
So simple.
Thank you.
I want to ask something about prayer, because I think I was actually raised in a Christian family a long time ago as well. And so that seems to be important to me at times. Like I feel like I want to pray. And I guess it's because I want help from outside myself. And I'm not sure what I'm praying to. And trying to understand the teaching that is already within me, and I'm already connected to all. I have a little resistance to that. Like I want there to be something outside me that I can pray to for help, I think, at times. I thought maybe you could speak to that.
What did you have in mind?
An answer.
No, I mean, what would you be praying to outside where, when we were little children, we were praying to a God that's sitting on a large throne on a big white puffy cloud, long white beard, staff. We still pray to that one.
Are you asking me if I still...
When you say out there, what's
Right.
out there and what's within? What is the demarcation point?
You're asking for
within
me.
the confines of the body, and
Right.
everything external to the body is out there, and everything within is within.
I guess it feels that way to me somehow.
And where are you in all of that? Are you within? Are you without?
I'm not sure, but it comes to mind that I'm within when you ask me that. And that's scary to me somehow. Like, I guess maybe there's, I lose that sense of connection. I feel alone, like in this experience of, I'm believing in my separateness, I guess, in my body. And maybe that's when I want to pray. Maybe I'm seeking that connection. And I'm not sure how to do it, I guess. Maybe I want to know how to pray or how to... I don't know what I'm saying. I'm just talking.
So what is it that you would like to be connected to? That prayer is that bridge.
Right. I think that I want to be connected to... I'm just going to say this, how crazy it sounds or whatever, is that help that is beyond me, the confines of that I experience within my mind and my body, my feelings, this person. And because I want to feel connected to that benevolent universe or force or God or whatever it is that I know is there and that I don't feel connected to in that moment. And I know, I understand, and I'm attempting to use the reminders that you're speaking of, but maybe it comes from my experience of growing up with prayer or something, and that's why I look in that direction. Does that make sense?
It makes sense. If I'm understanding, what you're saying is that prayer itself is what connects. What it connects to remains a mystery, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I want to understand that mystery more too, I think. Maybe I think that prayer will somehow, with that connection to the mystery, I will understand it. And I think it's because then I won't feel alone.
In some way, the understanding, that impulse to understand, creates a sense of separation.
Right.
And allowing the mystery to be just removes it. Removes that separation. That prayer that is not of understanding prayer so much when it's really sincere. It's heart. It's a heart's prayer. It's not a mind's prayer. Mm-hmm. Mind's prayer usually is about demanding something now.
Right. Right.
And the heart's prayer is usually a calling out, a beseeching, it's a longing.
Right. And I think that's what I find myself doing. And I'm just wondering, I guess I'm asking, like, is that okay? Like, what am I praying to when I do that, if it's already within me?
You know, it is such a mystery. Who is praying? Who is being prayed to? I mean, isn't that such a mystery too? Who is praying? It's all such a mystery, you see. Allowing it to be the mystery that it is, it doesn't confine and limit and define. Doesn't make it into some mental concept or construct. It was a mystery and is a mystery and will remain a mystery. It has so many names. But naming that doesn't, in truth, make it any less of a mystery. It's just giving the mystery a name. And we like to give the mystery a form as well. We give a name and form to the mystery. But the mystery itself is truly without a name and truly without a form. And yet we embody, each one of us, that mystery. The okayness is as you wish. Make it all okay. Or not. If not, then there's this suffering, this despairing, this pervasive sense of it's not okay. Make it okay, and there's a pervasive sense it's really okay. When you really get sick and fed up of all the needless suffering, say, no, it's really all okay. I'm okay with what is. It's acceptance, embracing, allowing, it's being easy. So I'm speaking of this all the time. To just let be with what is. Forgo all the insistence and all the demands that this moment be other than what it is. So this is forgoing all the needless suffering. So you empower your own self to say it's okay. And you be the confirmer as well. You confirm it's okay. So you see, finally, it's not in your hands. It's in the hands of that which we're speaking now as this mystery. It's that one that's moving this hand now and clutching that microphone. There is no separate individual doer within the confines of this body, like a wizard behind the curtain. This inquiry reveals one's essential empty nature. reveals the illusory nature of that apparent separate individual. Surrender is fully accepting this fact, allowing it to be. In some ways, when we speak of self-realization, we are speaking of this mystery realization.
There's an idea that's scary. I don't want to lose this, whatever it is, this self.
That sense of being a separate individual, that's there, that's always available. Okay, good.
Thank you.
Where's my thing here? Where's my ganga when I need it? See, I have it all the other times. Thank you.
Good.
Hanuman, my question revolves around quiet. In an attempt to bring quiet into my life, I've set aside some period of time each day to meditate and sit, and I do it with the intent of experiencing something more like what's described a few minutes ago. Quite often what happens is something quite different than that. I get into these dream-like states, and my question revolves around those. Sometimes they can be mundane, sometimes seemingly profound, and I don't know whether there is value embedded in these experiences or if it's just a clever packaging of a mind stream that I should be letting go of. That's my question.
Yeah. So you have to see if there's value for yourself.
How?
See what the value is, if there is any. In part, it's an expression of your sincere intention for quiet. You're setting aside some time from the busyness of ordinary everyday life and saying that this is in behalf now of silence, of stillness. What seems to intrude upon that is this desire for something, for some state to magically appear, that then the mind will assess as being good or an achievement. So it's turning something that it was initially having to do with the intention for stillness and turning it into something, some productivity, some spiritual productivity.
So I should just go with them, I guess, and experience them for what they are.
Well, I'm always saying, first things first is if you're going to bring that tush to that cushion for that activity called meditation, the first thing first is to inquire, who is the meditator? And this is the heart of my master's teaching. It's the heart of Ramana Maharshi's teaching, this inquiry. Who am I? So I could say there's great true value in that. An intention in behalf of the fulfillment of your desire for freedom. But what I'm hearing you're saying is a kind of dreamy sleep state that's possibly pleasant. And maybe there's been 100 of those. And here you are. See, has this fulfilled your truest intention? 100 dreamy sleep states or 10,000? Has it put the search to rest once and for all? And to that you could say no, but it's a pleasant rest. What's wrong with a pleasant rest? Nothing.
It's true. That's what makes me feel suspicious about it. It just seems too pleasant in a way.
So but pleasant. So it's a different order of things, you see. Maybe equivalent to a little snack. It doesn't really fulfill your hunger in a profound way. But yet, it removes the gnawing pangs that seem to be uncomfortable. So you don't want to let a little comfort be the booby prize in the matters in which we're speaking of.
Hi, Hanuman. You were saying earlier how our bodies, it's just an illusion that we're separate. It's a big point of confusion for me but we live in this world and we have to have boundaries. And, we're surrounded by people who will overrun our boundaries if we give them the chance. And I'm not sure what my question is. I guess that just seems like a point of confusion to me.
So really, there is both these separate individual bodies and a sense of separation that keeps these bodies from knocking into each other. And if each one would investigate one's essential nature, what would be revealed is that the Buddha nature that you are, I am, in that we are not separate. There is only essentially this Buddha nature.
And yet, we encounter people who aren't asking those questions. When you're driving in the store, we have to keep our doors locked. We have to say whether or not we have time for someone. And I guess my question, or what I'm struggling with, is the need to protect myself in the world, and how separate that makes me feel.
Yeah. There's a great saying we've all heard, that saying of put your trust in Allah, but remember to tie up your camel.
I guess I just don't want to have to tie up my camel.
That's okay.
But then I pay the consequence.
Yeah. Which is also okay. Okay. Thank you for Satsang.